Today, we're going to dive into something really special. We're going to distill the absolute core genius of one of the most famous lectures ever given on artificial intelligence from the legendary MIT professor Patrick Winston. And trust me, this is way more than just a lecture about AI. It's a fundamental lesson in how to think. Famous lecture.
So let's start with the big question. What is artificial intelligence, really? When you cut through all the noise and the hype, Patrick Winston's answer is just so much more elegant and powerful than you might expect.
See, for Winston, getting a grip on AI isn't about memorizing a bunch of complex algorithms. Nope, it all boils down to two huge ideas. First, building models of the world, and second, choosing the right representation for a problem. These are the keys to the kingdom.
Now, you could just give a simple definition of AI, right? Creating systems that can think, perceive, and act. And that's fine. It's a starting point. But for an engineer, for someone who actually wants to build something, the real question isn't what these things are, but how in the world we can actually make them.
And that leads us right to the core MIT philosophy. It's not enough to just observe something, like thinking, and say, neat. The real goal, the hard work, is to build computational models of them. These are like simplified but really useful versions of reality that let us reason about things.
So why even bother building models? Well, because they have four incredible goals. A good model can help us explain the past, it can help us predict the future, it gives us a deep understanding of the subject, and, get this, ultimately, it can even help us control outcomes in the world. Pretty powerful stuff.
Okay, so we need models. Got it. But before you can even build a model, you need something even more fundamental, a representation. This is simply the way you decide to describe or frame the problem you're looking at. And as Winston shows so brilliantly, picking the right one, well, it changes everything.
Take Winston's classic gyroscope example. A physicist might use the super complicated right-hand screw rule, which, he jokes, you have about a 50% chance of getting right. The AI approach, though, is to find a better representation. Instead of trying to think about the whole spinning wheel, just imagine one single piece of mass at the very top. Now push that piece. Where does it go? It moves to the side. Suddenly, this complex physics problem becomes totally intuitive. That's the power of the right representation.
All right, here's another classic you've probably heard before. The farmer, the fox, the goose, and the grain riddle. You know the deal. You can't leave the fox with the goose, and you can't leave the goose with the grain. So, how do you get everyone safely across the river?
Now, think about how you might represent this problem. You could, draw a picture. You could write a poem about the farmer's tough day. But none of those things actually help you find the solution, right? They don't make the rules of the problem clear at all.
But what if, instead, we represent it as a map of safe states, where each spot on the map is a safe combination of things on either side of the river, and the lines between them are the allowed moves? All of a sudden, it stops being a riddle. It's just a pathfinding problem. You just have to trace the route from the start state to the end state. And that is the absolute crucial point here. The magic of picking the right representation is that it makes the constraints of the problem totally visible. It takes those hidden rules like the fox can't be alone with the goose and turns them into the very structure of the map. And once you can see the constraints, the solution just snaps into focus.
Okay, so now that we have these two big ideas, models and representations, we can start building Winston's full definition of AI piece by piece. So layer one, AI is about building models of thinking, perception, and action.
Now for layer two, we've got to add the foundation. So AI is really about the representations that support those models.
And layer three, why do these representations even work? Because they expose the constraints of the problem. That's the secret sauce.
And finally, layer four. Once those constraints are crystal clear, we can build algorithms to do the actual work. They're the final step, and they're only possible because of everything that came before.
And there it is, the complete definition. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but it's so much more than just a label. It's a recipe. It's a blueprint for how to think about building intelligent systems, starting from the ground up.
This leads to this fantastic meta-idea that Winston called the Rumpelstiltskin principle. The core idea is simple but profound. Just the act of giving something a name gives you power over it. It turns some vague, fuzzy notion into a concrete thing you can talk about, analyze, and master.
He put it so perfectly. Once you can name something, you get power over it. And this applies to absolutely everything, from a tricky concept in computer science, to an emotion you're feeling, to the little parts of our world we see every day.
Take this simple example. What do you call that little plastic tip on the end of your shoelace? Most of us have no idea. But once you learn its name, it's an aglet, something amazing happens. You now have a mental hook to hang information on. You can say, oh, right, the whole purpose of an aglet is to keep the lace from unraveling. Naming it literally creates a category in your mind for understanding it.
And this is where Winston makes this incredible leap, connecting all these ideas about AI and problem-solving right back to our own human intelligence. See, anatomically modern humans have been around for about 200,000 years, but for most of that time, not much changed. Then, around 50,000 years ago, something happened. A sudden explosion of art, technology, and culture.
So, what caused it? He brings up a fascinating theory, that humans developed one brand new game-changing ability, the power to take two separate ideas, combine them to create a third, totally new idea, all without destroying the original concepts.
This very ability is the engine of language. It lets us create descriptions. Descriptions let us tell stories. And storytelling, well, that's what truly separates us. It lets us command our own perception. We can run simulations inside our own heads and imagine things we have never, ever seen before.
Let's try it right now. I want you to imagine you're running as fast as you can with a full bucket of nickels. What happens? You can probably feel the immense weight, right? You can imagine yourself staggering, the coins sloshing around. It's heavy. You didn't have to look that up in a book. You just knew it by running the simulation in your mind.
And your ability to do that, to run that mental simulation, combining running and bucket and heavy nickels into a coherent scene, that, Winston argues, is the miracle of human intelligence. And it's the very miracle that the entire field of artificial intelligence is trying to understand and recreate.
Follow for more.